So, you or someone you know is about to deploy to Afghanistan as a contractor, or maybe it's Iraq, and you're wondering what to expect. How's the process work? Well, that's what this video is about. I'm going to tell you as much as I can, share as much as I can. There's some information I'm deliberately going to withhold, not because I want to, but because when you're working as a contractor over there, a lot of stuff is just off limits to talk about. So, right now I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Some of you out there will figure out what company I'm working for based on that location. But about to head over to Afghanistan, and some things I wanted to talk about, some things I wanted to explain to help others prepare, because I've been over there with this particular company twice before, and I've also worked for a couple other contractors over there. Also, one other thing, this information is most useful to U.S. citizens. Now, some of it will apply to other folks, but primarily it's for U.S. citizens. And what else? As far as the medical clearing, expect to go through a lot of just bullshit. It's a pain in the butt. It's a terrible process. It sucks. It's miserable. Everyone goes through it. It takes longer than it should. The companies screw up. They might miss some of your labs. You got to be on them. Just watch them like a hawk, because they'll mess up and then they'll blame you. Also, my personal opinion is these programs have been running long enough that doctors, labs, and especially dentists, man, they know they've got you when they see this paperwork, and that they can insist that you need expensive procedures that you don't actually need and refuse to sign off unless you sign. Let me tell you what happened to me. So I've been through the process before. I know how it works. What did I do? Before I ever flew to the US, because they required I do my exams in the US. There are some other locations outside the US, but they're even more expensive and farther away. So they required that I fly to the US to get my exams done, my medical clearing, dental clearing. I knew that typically, if I'm gonna have a problem, it's gonna be with my teeth or with my cholesterol. So I went ahead and did my lab work for cholesterol. I did the fast, did my labs, came back pretty good. I've been taking some stuff for cholesterol, some omega 369, flaxseed oil. I've been taking that pretty regularly, and it's working. It's dropping my cholesterol. So my labs came back good. Everything else in my labs was fine. And when I went to look at my teeth, I've lived overseas a long time, and I've had some questionable dentists. And I also had one really questionable dentist in the US years ago. Some of the work I've had done isn't holding up. And I had to have, the typical tooth cleaning and a couple cavities filled. And that dentist gave me a clean bill of health after that. No problems with my teeth. So then I fly to the US. I fly into Fort Lauderdale, and I've got all my appointments set up in one day. Appointment for labs, appointment for doctor, and appointment for the dentist. And the laboratory, man, they're understaffed that day. It's hectic. They're disorganized. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to name the lab because I don't want to get in any liability situation, but my labs came back off the charts high for cholesterol. I failed the test. Now, I knew it was a bad test, but you just gotta put up with a lot of unfairness in this program, and just keep your eye on the prize. Smile, nod, do what you have to do to get through it. Wind's kicking up. It's going to get hard to hear me. Hold on. Man, I had to walk a ways to find a spot where I was out of the wind. All right, so what was I saying? So labs came back with high cholesterol. Went to the doctor, everything was fine. Went to the dentist, and here's where things got really scammy. First of all, the dentist tried to charge me for the exam that she had already been paid for by the company. Second of all, this lady told me I needed a tooth cleaning at $1,300, and that if I didn't do it, she wouldn't sign the paperwork. Now, when this sort of stuff happens, these sort of extortion scams happen, you just got to roll with the punches, but you don't have to pay them. You don't have to get your treatment done with the doctor or dentist, whoever is insisting that you've got a problem. You can take the paperwork, head on out and get it done somewhere else. And you don't even need to get it done in the US. You have to get your exams done in the US, or I think they can also be done in Dubai and in the UK. I'm not sure where else, but you don't have to do the follow-up there. So I flew back to Ecuador and went back to the same doctor and the same dentist. Doctor took my labs again. They came back normal again. He said, "Hey, you're fine." And he just wrote me up, you got to play the game, show that you've addressed the issue. So he wrote up a little thing that said advise exercise, omega-3s, and diet to treat slightly elevated cholesterol. That worked, got me through. And I went to the dentist. Now, unfortunately, when you, even though I'd already done a tooth cleaning, I had to do it again. This time I sucked it up and did a more thorough one, but it cost a fraction of what I would have in the US. So that is not an unusual situation to deal with. It is a pain in the butt to get medically cleared to go work in these overseas locations. And fighting the system doesn't work. You just gotta learn its tricks and roll with it. So as you're getting ready to ship out, a few things to be aware of. If you've got any medications, you need to have prescriptions for them, if they're prescription medications. If you've got any vitamins, supplements, or over-the-counter meds, they need to be in their original sealed packaging, nothing that you have opened. And for whatever reason, no gel caps. Anything you have that doesn't meet that criteria, when you arrive on base and your bags get searched by the military, and they will get thoroughly searched, all that stuff's getting taken away. In theory, you might get in some trouble for them. You won't, they'll just seize them. So I'm flying in with a little drone. I'm gonna see how it goes, whether it gets taken or not. It might get taken. All the research I've done says I am allowed to fly there with a drone. I'm just not allowed to use it. I've got this drone because I want to be able to use it when I'm on vacation. I want to have it with me so that I can head to other parts of the world on my vacations and play around with it. But I think it's okay. That's what all my reading up has said, and I've talked to a couple of people that actually have drones over there, but some rules don't get applied across the board. They'll be strict on them one day and not on another. So just because someone else has one doesn't mean it's okay. I'm gonna risk it. So at least with my company and the flights we're running right now, that day that you fly from the US to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Afghanistan, brace yourself for a brutal, exhausting day. So here is what the typical schedule looks like. You might leave in the afternoon or evening from the US. Right now, the flights are most commonly looking like a transfer in Atlanta, then another one in Amsterdam, then on to Dubai. They get you a hotel, but it's silly. I mean, you go to this hotel for maybe, you check in, you maybe got an hour or two, then you check right back out. A lot of your time is just going to be spent standing in lines when you're not on a plane, in a big group of people, getting your badges scanned and filling out some paperwork. And then you'll fly to Afghanistan, if that's where you're going. Fly to Afghanistan, get off the plane, stand in more lines, and more lines, and more lines. You'll have to go through all the military checks. You'll have to go through all your company's stuff. You'll have to stand in line at billeting. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of this thing. You'll have to stand in line at your billeting office to get housing assigned. It's endless. So you end up being, I don't know if you can sleep on planes. I really can't. You might end up being awake for 24 hours. You might end up being awake for 30, 36 hours. It's a rough day. It's gonna wear you down. If you can sleep on the plane, if there's any way you can sleep on the plane, try to. There's a Salvation Army guy behind me ringing a bell. So what else do you need to know to prepare you for deploying to Afghanistan? You need to know the most important skills you can have for going over there, and also for preparing to go over there, are patience and adaptability. A lot of what you're going to go through is going to test your patience. It's not like the real world. It's not like working a normal job. Productivity, there's moments where it's very important, but it is not the most important. What you will experience over there, it's going to test you. It's going to, at times, drive you a little mad. You got to learn to be patient. You got to accept that it's not the real world. The normal rules do not apply. And just roll with the punches. Go with the flow and get through it. You'll experience things that, man, they don't make any sense. They're illogical. They're ridiculous. And you'll have to put up with it, because the alternative is getting in a lot of trouble or heading home, or both. All right, at the airport, almost time to fly, and it looks like I'm not transferring in Amsterdam like I thought. Unfortunately, I'm going to transfer in Charles de Gaulle in Paris. Not my favorite airport, kind of a bummer. Alright, I did not remember Charles de Gaulle Airport being this nice. It's actually maybe they remodeled or something. I was not looking forward to coming through this airport, but it's pretty awesome. Alright, third flight. Next stop, Dubai. I am tired. Long journey.
Please put your baggage into the right compartment. Only small baggage and accessories must be there.
Flying out of Terminal 2 in the Dubai airport. This is kind of the funky terminal, but it's still pretty nice. Still all right. And within a few hours, I'll be in Afghanistan. This is the infamous transient building. This is the housing you have when you are not permanent in Bagram, but just passing through. Alright, so as I think I mentioned, one of the big challenges of making a video explaining anything out here in Afghanistan is operational security and what I can and cannot show. So I'm hanging out between two buses, so I'm not showing anything in the background that would get me in trouble. So I flew into Bagram, spent 3 days here, a little longer than normal. Normally it's about 2, but hanging out in the transient building, which is the worst place on earth, and did a little work yesterday, orientation the day before, and today I am flying out to another location. So I'm exhausted. I've been running about 2 hours, 3 hours sleep a night. Had some activity a couple times last night that I had to get up for. Some of you will know what I mean by that. But that's about all I can show you of the deployment process. You know, you get oriented in the States usually, and then fly out to where you're going. Spend a lot of time just signing paperwork, getting your PPE or IBA or your body armor, hanging out in a transient building tent, which is like, there might be 100 people sleeping in there, and a lot of noise and smells and terrible beds, and running on very little sleep, just trying to keep it together and not lose anything. I managed to lose a couple pairs of glasses, and then off you go to whatever your assigned base or fob, or you stay in Bagram. If you stay in Bagram, you don't stay in transient building that long unless your employer sucks. Usually you get moved out real quick into more permanent housing, which is way better. So that's the deployment process. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to upload this video, but as soon as I can, you'll get it. Peace.